Well, hello everyone. It's Sybil Starr here with the astrology update for the Cancer new moon on July 20th, 2020 at 10:32 a.m. The sun and the moon are conjunct in Cancer. That's what a new moon means. And it is at 28 degrees, 26 minutes of Cancer, or we often just round it up to the next number, 29 degrees of Cancer. Okay. I'm going to show you the chart for this new moon so you can see what is going on here. All right, so I'm just going to show it to you. I'm not going to keep it up for the whole reading. But first off, what the points we're going to be talking about tonight, is the sun and the moon in Cancer. They're here at 28 degrees, 26 minutes. Okay, and by the way, this is what's called an Aries point chart. So the chart starts at 0 degrees Aries. Okay. All right. So anyway, sun and moon in Cancer, they are tightly opposite Saturn, as you can see here. Saturn is at 28 degrees, 39 minutes. So this is really the major component of this new moon, is this sun, moon opposite Saturn, but it's also continues to be opposite Pluto and Jupiter. So this whole triumvirate up here, Athena is following along with them right now. And then they're also in a square to Eris, which is a dwarf planet that has been discovered, I'm going to say in the last, I think probably 15 years, I'm not sure. Anyway, but she's come in really strong, and I'm going to talk more about her. And we're also going to be talking about Mars. Mars is in his own sign of Aries, which makes it very powerful. It's conjunct Chiron and square Mercury, which is over here in Cancer. Yes, we have Vesta, Hygeia, and Mercury in Cancer. And we're also going to be talking about the nodes of the moon, which is the north node here, which represents the way forward. The south node is our past, and they're in a square over here to Neptune. We'll be talking about what that means. Now, I'm talking just a little bit about Cancer, because Cancer is the archetype of the mother, and it's the archetype of the great mother. And today, the day that I'm recording, which is July 17th, is actually the feast day of the goddess Isis. I'm going to show you her picture here. This is a papyrus painting that I got when I was in Egypt. This sits over my altar. It's just really beautiful. But anyway, so Isis is one of the faces of the Great Mother. And here I am sitting in front of her temple at Philae. Here she is back here. Okay. All right. And just so you know, too, the story of the temple at Philae is really interesting, because the temple is in Aswan. When the Aswan Dam was created, I can't remember, I think like 1967 or something like that, I'm not sure. Anyway, the temple had to be moved stone by stone. First they flooded it, and then they realized that it needed to be saved, and people from all over the world came to save this temple. And the United States came as well, and that we were actually given some very significant Egyptian artifacts that are in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So it's good to know that those artifacts there were freely given. They weren't taken, which makes me want to go see them. Okay. So anyway, let's go back to the astrology. So today the Cancer is the sign of the Great Mother, and the Great Cosmic Mother. It represents how we mother, how we were mothered, how we mother, how we nurture life, ourselves, and each other. Cancer is the way of the heart, and when Cancer shows up, it's very much about an opening. An opening of the heart. And it's important to remember that this is the second new moon in Cancer that we have had this year. The first one was at the eclipse at 0 degrees Cancer, which was at the summer solstice. And so that was like the opening of the portal. And it feels like there are many things that are saying that the birth portal is open. The birth portal that we are moving into other dimensions is open. And this is one of the other signs of it. Is this second new moon in Cancer, the sign of the mother, who is the one who gives birth. Okay. And it's so important to remember that with this, and it's the portal of the mother, of her love. Her love is flooding in, and as we allow it to come into us, it helps us to remember that she is always with us, that we are never alone, just like when we were children, and it was so important to have our mother near. It's like our mother is closer now, and we can feel her presence, and she is here with us. And it is about self-love and self-acceptance. That is the love of the mother. When we can love ourselves and accept ourselves, that is when her love is fully actualized within us. And it is remembering that she has never left us. When I went to Egypt, I had a really incredible experience, a very mystical experience, and it was actually in it's an old Coptic church. We spent a day in old Cairo, and we went to this Coptic church, and when I was going into it, I was feeling it's come a little of the old oppression of my upbringing, of being raised Catholic. But when I got into the church, it changed. This was actually the church where Jesus, Mary, and Joseph supposedly fled and lived, where they lived. Believe it was 3 years. I'm not sure, but this church was built over that site, and this church also had an icon of an old icon of the Holy Mother, of Mother Mary, of the Madonna. And so this picture of the Madonna and child, of the mother, they had a place where you could light candles. And as I lit a candle and prayed for those that I loved, the face of the mother shapeshifted into Isis. And she said to me, I am here, I have never left, and I have many faces. And I knew that was true, and it was a very profound experience. And to remind us that she said, she has never left. And so this Cancer new moon is opening that portal of the love of the mother, to know that we are held by her and that we are awakening to love. Now, the Sabian symbol for this new moon is a Greek muse weighing newborn twins in golden scales. And it's another symbol of birth. The muses were the goddesses of creativity. We're talking about newborns here being weighed on the scales. And the scales are the scales of Ma'at. They are the scales of truth. They are the scales of cosmic truth. That we are giving birth to a new reality that is aligned with truth and cosmic law. And the twins, I believe, represents one of Ma'at's teachings, that truth also has more than one face. It can be within paradox. A truth can live in paradox. For one thing to be true, another thing doesn't have to be false. And so just like, I'm just going to use the example of, in a family, all the children have a different experience of their mother. And just because one child has an experience doesn't make another child's experience false. And to remember that truth, cosmic truth, is a truth such as, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Those are cosmic truths. But our personal truths depend on where we sit as to how we see things, and to understand there is more than one perspective and more than one perception, and they can all be true. As I said, this new moon is opposed to Saturn there in Capricorn, and Saturn is the father energy, and it is an opposition. And so oppositions what they ultimately want to have happen is integration, but they can often show up first as like someone opposing us and feeling like it's outside yourself. And so Capricorn and Saturn have to do with the father energy. And the teaching is about personal authority and all of the places of how that is created. It's about character building. It's about integrity. It's about maturity. And so, but it can also bring in limitations, show the places where we are less than that, so that we can grow into that. And so it can often bring up fear because it feels like we are being limited in some way. And often when we are afraid, it can bring in control. Okay, because when we are afraid, we try to control our environment. And, I'm going to just say there's a lot of fear in the world right now. We're really blanketed with it. It's coming from so many different levels, and so it's triggering our own fear. And as it comes up, we try to control our environment and we try to control other people. And so those who do not conform to our idea of truth can feel like a threat. So it's so important to understand this truth, that we see truth from where we sit. There is no absolute truth when it comes to personal truth. And to recognize those places where we might be carrying, some fear, because in these times of great uncertainty, we certainly are afraid. Let's put it this way. In these times of great uncertainty can trigger fear because we can't control our environment. And sometimes when we get scared, we can get mean. So it's so important to shine that light of consciousness into those places where we might be carrying that judgment, especially, Capricorn and Saturn, one of the shadow sides of judgment. And how we can judge ourselves and others, and to know that when we are judging ourselves and others is where we really plug into that patriarchal matrix, and which we are trying to move beyond into that field of love. And to know the portal of love is wide open right now, and to allow that love in. And just like when we were children, to let our mother comfort us, because times are scary, but it's also time to trust. That is the piece of the love that she is bringing, and helping us remember that everything is divine. And this is all part of a divine plan. The key is not to succumb to the lower vibrational kinds of energies, such as fear and such as judgment, such as anger, all of those different things. What was kind of being shown to me is that, on this journey, Saturn shows us that the places where we feel separate from source, separate from each other, but separate from source. And the love of the mother is trying to bring about a new birthing process where we remember that we are all one, where we are all divine, where we are love. And it is a turning, a shift in consciousness to allow that to come in. But to move into these higher dimensional levels, it is so important to shine the light of consciousness within ourselves first, and to know that our inner world is creating our outer world. And the more we can raise our own vibration and release these lower vibrational energies, the more we can move into this new reality that is wanting to be birthed. And as far as the birthing process, it's also important to remember, Pluto is there. Pluto is the god of death and rebirth. And Saturn brings limitations. So he brings, it's like the contraction phase of the birthing process where we are feeling squeezed. And with having Pluto there, it can make us afraid that we're not going to survive. Okay, but it's important to trust the process and move through it. And the way to do it is to breathe. We can breathe. As we breathe into times when we get afraid, instead of reacting, it will help us expand and help that fear move on through. and is in the outer world. We know the veils are falling as well. There's a lot of darkness in our world, but the way to heal it is to bring it to the light of consciousness, to look at it. We can't look away, but we also don't want to go down that rabbit hole of fear and paranoia, into another story. But that is how we heal things, is to bring it to the light of consciousness. And so we can see there are power plays happening, but the more we look at it and bring light to it, we can shift it. And it is shifting, and I'm seeing it. And it's kind of exciting. I was kind of surprised at some things I was reading today. There are some things that are shifting. And it is because people are looking at it, and it is raising the vibration, and more people are waking up. The other thing that is happening that is so important to look at, is the child trafficking, and just how bad it is. And it is part of a bigger process. It feels to me like it's about, not only is it about that sickness of child trafficking, but how it is being used by intelligence agencies to control our politicians and our leaders in the world. And it's not just greed why people are making these choices. There's some dirty stuff that is coming to the surface, and it's important to look at it, to not go down that hole, but to look at it, because when we bring the light of consciousness to it, we can heal it, and heal that and raise that vibration. And the other thing that is happening, of course, is Eris. I spoke of her. She is actually the goddess of discord from ancient Greece. But the reason she had so much discord was because she didn't have a seat at the table. She was the fairy godmother who was not invited to the baby shower, to the wedding, to all of the different things, the one who doesn't have a voice. And so those who don't have a voice, those who aren't heard, are, they're causing some ruckus, because they do need to be heard, and it is time. Okay, and this is part of the social justice movement. Everybody needs a seat at the table. And to just remember that we are the light in the darkness, that it is our light that lights up the darkness. And there are times we can't look away, but we also don't have to go down the rabbit hole. Mars is in Aries, and that is really significant. And Mars is the warrior, and Mars is in its own sign. And Mars is the warrior, Mars is the protector. And Aries brings the evolutionary goal of courage. It's learning courage. And you can't learn courage without fear. I mean, that's what it is about. And it is about being afraid, but doing it anyway, knowing that fear is in the field, but standing up for what is right, what is true. And I really feel like it is very much about standing up for ourselves, this Mars in Aries. But it's also in a square to Mercury. It's conjunct Chiron, which is is the wounded healer. And Mercury is our voice. So it's about the courage to find our voice and to speak up and to speak the truth, as they say, to speak the truth even if your voice trembles. And to remember that the truth does not want to be heard. The powers that be do not want it heard. And so there's a lot of censorship going on. There is censorship from Facebook, from YouTube, from Google. Anybody who has a different perspective, especially in the world of science or medicine, around what the current narrative we're being told. And so there's a huge amount of censorship happening. But the other thing that I'm seeing is that we're censoring each other, that people who have a different perspective are just, I'm not sure why, but it is happening, and I've certainly experienced it myself. Sharing a different perspective, trying to shed light on something because that that there's more than one way to look at it. And one of the things I do want to talk about, because I think it's really significant, is that the controversy around masks. There is science to support both sides. There's, if you look, if you look carefully, it's out there. And so what I say is, if science can't even come to consensus on this, why do we have to? Okay, there are different perspectives, and I can tell you why. Because it seems to me as though the media and the powers that be do not want us to be a united front. They really are trying to sow the siege of division, divisiveness, and Mars can really stir the pot. Like I've talked about before, Mars is a catalyst, and I've been reading that, media outlet articles saying, are we going to have a civil war? It feels to me like they are stoking the fires of this divisiveness, when the truth of the matter is there is no consensus on whether everyone wearing masks is helpful. There's just no consensus. And so it just seems like doing what you need to do to be safe yourself, and understanding that, and allowing others to do what feels safe for them. Okay, that's really kind of what I see. But ultimately, Mars in Aries is about standing up for ourselves, setting boundaries, and it's where we say no personally and collectively, not just around the current global crisis that we are in, but in our own lives. Because if the goal of Saturn in Capricorn is ultimately about our own personal authority, this is where it comes from, is to be aligned with our own inner truth. Okay, and we can do with that in a kind way. Cancer is very kind. We can say no and not be insulting or rude or mean, and just say no, this is me. Okay. And it's really also important to know that Mars is not retrograde yet, but it's going to go retrograde. So it's going to be in Aries for 6 months. And in the month of August, it's going to be in a square to some of these major Capricorn planets, the Pluto, Jupiter, and then ultimately Saturn. It's going to go retrograde. And anyway, it's a 6-month process. And so I'm going to say the potential for civil unrest is really high. As well as a lot of heat, and the temperatures going really high, and fires. I mean, this could be a very challenging fire season. I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying the potential is really here. The energy is very volatile, is what I want to say. There's very volatile energy around. So how do we deal with that? So astrology, I feel like, is also giving us another clue here, and it is about Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus, is often downloads, and in Taurus is very much about the consciousness of Mother Earth. And so I feel like what it is saying is, number one, is to remember that Mother Earth can hold us. I go to this beautiful grove of redwood trees where there's a magical circle, and I sit in there, and I have to tell you, I feel so at peace. It's like I never want to leave. And she tells me, Mother Earth tells me when I'm there, you don't have to be afraid. I'm holding you. I've got you. And it is just so true. And Taurus energy is so much about being like the tree in the storm. Okay, the tree whose roots go deep down into the ground and anchors that tree in while the storm swirls around. Because I'm certainly not saying that we're not in a storm, we are. But it is our response to it. We don't have to react, we can respond. And how we do that is about being grounded and centered, and also being in the present moment. Being able to say to ourselves, how does my life look right at this moment? Because, anxiety and fear is what really takes us to the future. That's not what we have right at the moment. Are you well? You know, is your family well? Do you have food? Do you have shelter? You know, are you comfortable? You know, that is the reality of your truth at this moment. um, Having anxiety about what will spiral out in the future, which may or may not come, really is not helpful. And so Uranus and Taurus reminds us of that. And the other piece, I had a download one day, and it said to me, and it's about inner peace, and it said that if your inner peace depends on the actions of others, you will never find it. And that's just simply the truth. We can only control what we do. We can't control what anyone else does. We never have, we never will be able to. And so in this crisis, take care of yourself. That is the main thing. And those that you love in your home and your family. And the last thing I want to talk about is the nodal axis that is in a square to Neptune. As I showed you on the chart, the south node of the moon is in Sagittarius. The north node is in Gemini. The south node is the past, is what we're releasing and yet bringing forward. And the north node is the North Star. It's the way forward. And Neptune is in a square to it. And so that changes the whole picture a lot. So the North Node in Gemini is showing us the way forward is about questioning. It is about questioning everything. It is to not believe what you were told and to everything you were told, and to know that the truth lies within, and to run it through your own intuition, your own deep sense of inner truth as to what is true and what is not true, because there is a lot of untruth in the outer world. The only way to know what is true is what is your heart will tell you. Now, Neptune, and of course the South Node in Sagittarius is about releasing old beliefs that no longer serve us. But there's more to that as well. But Neptune adds another piece, and I feel like what it is doing, it is, we are moving into a new understanding of the nature of reality through quantum physics, through the quantum field, where all possibility lives. And in the chaos of the breakdown that is happening, as we are shining the light of consciousness into these places in our own hearts and in our own world that are breaking down and no longer serving us, a new world is stirring. And it is still in the field of possibility. And I had an experience a while back. I did a journey and shamanic journey-like experience, and I was taken out into the field of all possibility. I was shown that it was beyond the field of right and wrong. And I feel like that field of right and wrong is that patriarchal matrix that we live in, that Capricorn Saturnian field, and into the field of love, where everything is possible. And it was a dark place. It was like the void. And it was like liquid mind was kind of like the consistency of it. And the only light was within myself. And it was my light that was shining. And I became aware that it is our vibration that we started. We start creation in the field of all possibility. We start creation with the vibration, with our own vibration, and that attaches to light, a waveform, which is frequency. And the key is to tune into the frequency of what we want to create, into the field of love. And I was asked while I was there this really incredible question. I said, why do you keep creating the same reality over and over when there are so many others? And I had to really think about that, because what does that mean? And I think, at least where I'm at with it right now, is that we keep recreating this field, this reality that looks like the world is now, when we can create something different. We are creators, and it is our frequency that creates. And so the key is our vibration. It is to raise our vibration. And some keys to help raise our vibration is to remember that everything is divine. All is divine. Even this is God too, as they say. This is divine too. We are in the birthing process. And for us to move into higher vibrations, we need to lose those lower vibrational energies. And everything is divine. As we return to Creator, as we return to higher dimensions, this is God too. Nurture life. And 3, gratitude. Gratitude, the attitude of gratitude changes everything. And so also it is about believing in the impossible. Just because there's been a way that we have created, even if we don't know how to create the new, it is the vibration and believing that anything is possible and holding that place for miracles, because miracles happen all the time. And I just read something today that is kind of like a miracle to me, and I'm choosing to believe it. That I read an article saying that the virus will be gone before a vaccine is created, you know? And so that gives us the opportunity to do what we need to do to take care of ourselves, okay? To boost our immune system, to be out in nature, to eat well, to enjoy life. This is how we create something new. There isn't going to be a magic bullet. And so we must take care of ourselves, okay? And to know that, once again, the actions of, it's not about the actions of others, it's how we take care of ourselves. And to understand that our outer world is the creation of our frequency. And as the Hopi are saying, that we can use this time to go through a portal or to go down a hole. And to know that love and trust is the portal, fear is the hole. We can use this time as an opportunity to awaken to love, because it's always been that choice between love and fear. And the doors to love are flowing wide open, as the doors to fear are too. It is always about our choice. All right, we're wishing you all a great month. You can contact me. I do readings, consultations. You can contact me at Sibyl@sibylstar.com. You can go to my website, Sibylstar, SIBYLSTAR. And I'm on a radio show on Third Eye Radio. It's called Political Star Talk every few weeks. So you can follow up and find me on all of those places. All right, wishing you all a wonderful month. Okay.